the color. So we may or may not see something. And again, if you are outside looking up at the moon, you may or may not see something today. But there is a turquoise band is something to look out for as we come to the end of totality.
Minute and a half left, and you told me something funny about Columbus in our break. I said, why do we need to talk about Columbus? And you said, well, Anna, and you have a good story there.
Well, there is a great story about Christopher Columbus, which seems a great story for the end of totality. For this story, we have to go back to the year 1504, and this is Columbus's fourth transatlantic voyage. But things have not gone well for Columbus and his crew. They have become stranded in Jamaica, and they've run out of food. And the Jamaicans were helping them. They were giving them food and water. But the Columbus and his crew, they're stuck. They show no signs of moving. The Jamaicans are starting to get a bit fed up, and they stop supplying food to Columbus and his crew. Now, luckily, Columbus has with him his astronomical tables. And these tell him that on February 29th, 1504, there was a total lunar eclipse. So Columbus tells the local chiefs in Jamaica that God is angry with them, and so he's going to turn the moon the color of blood. And sure enough, as promised, the eclipse begins. The locals in Jamaica, they start panicking. They go to Columbus. They say, please stop this. Columbus says, I will go back to my cabin and I will pray to God. He's in his cabin. He's in fact not praying to God. He is there with his sand glass, timing the duration of totality to know when it will end. And at the appropriate time, at the end of totality, he emerges and tells the Jamaicans that he has sorted things out with God, and the eclipse ends. And the Jamaicans start supplying food again to Columbus and his crew. So that seems to be an appropriate story for the end of totality here.
And it has ended. We're counting up again, 1 minute into totality. I didn't notice any blue turquoise band going on, Graham.
Right, no, I didn't last time either on our feeds last time. We will have a careful look through the photos that everybody is sending us. It's possible that somebody may have caught it at some location. We will have a look for that. But you are right. Totality has now finished. The magnitude down there in the bottom left-hand corner, we are now below 1. We are at 0.98. Magnitude is below 1, so we are now back into another partial phase of the eclipse.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we'll leave people looking at that. And be sure to join us on timeanddate.live. Share your images, hashtag timeanddate.live, and send us your questions at live@timeanddate.com. Hello again. We're here with timeanddate.com. We are looking at the moon in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we're a fair way into the partial stage of the eclipse, aren't we, Graham?
That's right. So how much longer do we have? We have 48 minutes, okay, until the end of the partial phase. So this is really pretty much the same as the period of the partial phase at the beginning of today's eclipse. It's just running in reverse as the Earth's shadow starts to uncover the moon. We should point out that even now what we're seeing as the bright silvery part of the moon, that is still in the Earth's shadow. That is still in the Earth's penumbral shadow. It's still in the lighter outer part of the Earth's shadow. The entire Earth's shadow does not move off the moon for another 2 hours or so yet. But this dramatic partial eclipse phase, this will be ending at 22:19 UTC, and that's really where the main drama of today's eclipse comes to an end.
And I have to let you know, I ran out and looked out of the window in our break now to look at the total lunar eclipse here up in the sky here in Stavanger, and I could see it, and it just looks amazing. It's like an emoji that's just been stuck to the sky. It doesn't even look like the moon. So I was very happy that I could run out and see that, and not only look at these beautiful images, but not real life. Which always feels a bit more magical, doesn't it, Graham?
Yeah. That's wonderful stuff. I'm so happy that you've had that view of it there in Stavanger. That's great news.
But we want to tell you about something else. We've got something new called meteor shower sky map. Now, meteor showers are basically shooting stars, aren't they, Graham?
That's right. A meteor is the technical term for what is better known as a shooting star. This is basically a bit of interplanetary debris that is going around the solar system. When it reaches the Earth's atmosphere, it burns up in the Earth's atmosphere, and it produces these wonderful shooting stars. It doesn't take much to produce a shooting star. I mean, some of the best naked eye shooting stars we see, these are produced by little rocks, bits of debris, some of them only 8 millimeters across.
But they do come at quite regular intervals, don't they?
Well, they do. In fact, there are 3 big meteor showers that we get every year, and one of the biggest has begun now, and it peaks on the night of August 12th, and this is the Perseid meteor shower. This is all of the debris that is left behind by the comet Swift-Tuttle that is orbiting the sun, and every year at this time the Earth passes through this trail of debris, and it can give us quite a reliable shooting star show. So it peaks. Well, indeed, yeah, absolutely. And it peaks on the night of August the 12th. It's called the Perseids because all of the shooting stars, they appear to originate in the constellation Perseus. If you kind of trace back the path of the shooting star, they all come back to the same place. It's called the radiant. If you want to...
Well, we've made this awesome animation where we show this. We've got where we can show the shooting stars radiating from the Perseids.
Right, and I think okay, here we are. We're looking at it here. This is the radiant point in the sky, in the constellation of Perseus, and all of the shooting stars appear to come from this point.
Yeah.
Now, the important thing for enjoying these shooting stars is that you don't actually need to find the radiant point in the sky. you can see shooting stars anywhere in the sky. Simply if you trace back the streak, they all appear to originate from this one place. So people don't need to worry about locating this particular constellation in the sky. The important thing is to get out. They become slightly more visible slightly later on in the evening. And if you spend some time outside, if you let your eyes become accustomed to the dark, if you can find a spot that's away from bright lights, well, it is possible to see up to 50 meteors an hour, which can be quite a spectacular show.
And what we're showing here is actually from how you would view it from work. So you can go in on timeanddate.com/astro and you can find our new sky map with meteor showers, and you can see it for yourself what it would actually look like.
Yeah, and this new sky map is a wonderful thing, and it's a great way to visualize the sky and how the constellations are moving throughout the night. It's a really fabulous tool. We should also mention, by the way, that the peak night, August the 12th, that is about 2 weeks away. Today is a full moon, because we have a lunar eclipse. They happen at full moon. In 2 weeks' time, it is going to be a new moon. So one of the great things about the Perseid meteor shower this year is that there won't be a bright moon shining in the sky. Last year we had quite a bright moon, which somewhat detracted from the show because it made the sky much brighter. This year on the peak night, we're going to have a very dark sky, and it's an ideal year for watching the Perseid meteor shower.
So we recommend everyone to go in on timeanddate.com/astro and find our new sky map. It's called Meteor Showers Sky Map, and you can go in there and have a look. we're back from timeanddate.com here in Stavanger. I've been running out peeking at the moon, Graham. I'm sure you're a bit jealous of me. At one point we were down to just one person in our control room here. How are you doing, Graham?
Okay, well, I am jealous of you because I've been running out, but all I've been able to see is just a black sky, or as it is now, just thick clouds here in Japan. So yeah, I'm very jealous of you and of anyone who has got a view of today's lunar eclipse.
Because we're into the last half hour of the partial eclipse and pretty much coming towards, well, we still have half an hour and or more into the end of our show with. So we're back into trying to answer some of those questions that have turned up in our inbox. Are you ready for it, Graham?
Okay, let's try some of these questions.
With this one, we've had quite a bit. The question is, why are we streaming from different locations, and why does the moon look different?
Well, that's a good question, and in fact, part of the answer is there in the question. One of the reasons that we have these different locations in different continents, in different hemispheres, is that it does give us this very different view of the moon. It looks different from these different locations because we're watching the same event at the same time, but we're watching it from different angles, from different perspectives. So if you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, the moon is the other way around. It's upside down. If you're seeing the moon over towards the western side of today's map, then you're seeing the moon as it's coming towards moonset. If you're over on the eastern side of the map, you're seeing it as the moon is setting. If you're over on the western side of the map, you're seeing the moon closer to as it's rising, and the moon rotates as it moves across the night sky. So we're seeing very different angles depending on whether people are in the north or the south or the east or the west. And that is one of the reasons that we are having these different locations, to bring you these very different views of the moon. Another very, very practical point, of course, is that we knew exactly when and where today's eclipse was going to happen, but we didn't know for sure where there were going to be clear skies. So just a very practical reason for having three locations is in the event of cloud or bad weather at one or two locations, we still have some backup. And we have seen a little bit of cloud at two of our locations. Santorini seems to have been remarkably clear.
And we actually did use our little cloud cover tool in the eclipse maps to see what the average percentage cloud cover was, and found that Santorini had less than 10%. So we used our own tools to figure out where we wanted to go, not only because our CEO had been there on holiday before. Yeah. But we're still all looking at the same moon, right? And we're all looking at the same phases. When the moon is full, it's full on the night side of Earth.
That's right. Yeah, and this is one of the big differences with a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is where we get the moon's shadow moving across the Earth. So for different observers, for different locations on the Earth, people are seeing the eclipse at different times. They're seeing different magnitudes of the eclipse. Some people are seeing total eclipses, some people are seeing partial eclipses. It all depends on where you are. But for a lunar eclipse, it's all happening out there in space on the surface of the moon. So we're all seeing totality start and finish at the same time. We're all seeing the same magnitude at the same time. We're simply seeing it at different altitudes, at different directions in the sky.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Let me just find the tab here. Why are eclipses so rare?
Well, that is a very good question. Eclipses are rare, but then again, they're not so rare.
We sat here 6 months ago.
Well, there you go. Right. Now, of course, eclipses happen when the sun and the earth and the moon become aligned. Now, the moon is orbiting around the earth. The lunar cycle from one new moon to the next new moon, or from a full moon to the next full moon, lasts 29 and a half days, about 1 month. So we would expect there to be an eclipse every month, because every month the three bodies should become aligned. Now, it doesn't happen every month. The reason for that being that the moon's orbit around the Earth is slightly tilted to the Earth's orbit around the sun. The moon's orbit is tilted by about 5 degrees, which means that for most new moons and for most full moons, we do not have a perfect alignment and we don't have any eclipse.
But then some people say solar eclipses are rarer than lunar eclipses, and lunar eclipses happen more often. Is that true?
Right. So what does happen with the alignment of these three bodies is about every 6 months, just less than every 6 months, the moon's tilted orbit comes into alignment with the Earth's orbit around the sun. And we have a period of about 34 days where the three bodies can come into perfect alignment. Now, 34 days, that is slightly longer than one lunar cycle, which lasts for 29 and a half days. And that means that during that 34-day period, it means we are guaranteed to have 2 eclipses. It means we're guaranteed to have one solar eclipse, which happens at new moon, when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun. And it means we're guaranteed to have one lunar eclipse when the Earth passes between the middle of the moon and the sun. And we may even get 2 solar or lunar eclipses if they come at the extremities of this period. If we take the current period, it's called an eclipse season. This period that lasts about 34 days. It's called an eclipse season. And in this current eclipse season, we have had 3 eclipses. At the very beginning and at the very end of the eclipse season, at the time of new moon, we had very faint partial solar eclipses. Now, this happened when the three bodies still weren't perfectly aligned. They were still just slowly coming into alignment. So we didn't have a full, total solar eclipse. We just have these partial solar eclipses because they happen towards the beginning and the end of the eclipse season. But today, for the lunar eclipse, we are bang in the middle of this 34-day period. We have this perfect alignment. It's why the moon is moving right through the center of the Earth's shadow, because the three bodies really are perfectly aligned today. That's one of the reasons we've had such a long period of totality.
That one also has a funny name, doesn't it? I can't even say it. Syzygy?
Syzygy. When you have 3 bodies lined up in space. Right, that's another difficult one to say. Now, the point about there being more lunar eclipses or solar eclipses, it does work out overall about the same. In total, we have about the same number of lunar eclipses and the same number of solar eclipses. The thing is, for any particular observer, if you're in one location, you're going to see more lunar eclipses simply because you can see a lunar eclipse if you are anywhere on the nighttime side of the Earth. Today, half of the globe has been able to see this eclipse. In fact, it's a little bit more than half the globe because the Earth has been rotating as the eclipse has been in progress. So a little bit more than half the globe has been able to see this eclipse. When we come to a solar eclipse, on the other hand, the moon's shadow that falls on the Earth is much smaller. The moon is a much smaller body than the Earth. The moon's shadow only covers part of the Earth, so you really have to be in the right place at the right time to see a solar eclipse. So overall, we get a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse about every 6 months. Whether you can see them at your location, you have a 50-50 chance to see a lunar eclipse. To see a solar eclipse, the chances are much less than that. You really have to be at the right point on the surface of the Earth at the right time to see it.
Is based on data from a radar instrument aboard the European Mars Express
I
spacecraft.
have another question, but it looks like we are having a little bit of an issue with Graham at the moment.
Instrument provided by NASA.
Maybe we can go back and just look at the moon and we can figure this out.
Association's 2018 Air Venture event in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It was an opportunity to showcase the latest technologies being developed to propel the agency into a new era of aviation and research, including the all-electric X-57 Maxwell and the recently announced supersonic X-59 Quest aircraft. NASA representatives joined counterparts from government, academia, and international organizations at the 7th Annual International Space Station Research and Development Conference, July 23rd through 26th in San Francisco. The event highlighted discoveries and research on the space station. We worked with the University of Texas at Dallas to modify an audio tape recorder at our Johnson Space Center in Houston that is the only functional remaining device capable of playing back more than 100 30-track audio tapes, some of them from the Apollo 11 mission. This made it possible for the tapes, which contained previously unavailable conversations between the Apollo 11 astronauts, flight controllers, and others supporting the mission, to be digitized.
If we get to make the ability to reverse condition on our computers, is that going to fall?
And now all 19,000 hours of the recordings from Apollo 11 are available for download. For more details, go to nasa.gov/new Apollo audio. The online streaming universe has a new way to keep up with our exciting missions and thought-provoking discoveries. Users of Roku digital media streaming devices can now install and watch NASA's new Roku channel for free to access NASA content. This channel is a version of the NASA app available on iOS, Android, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV devices. That's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on the web at nasa.gov/.
Houston, this is station. I am ready for the event.
ISS Research and Development Conference. This is Mission Control Houston. Please start station for voice check.
Sounds like we have our astronaut on the line. Wow, we can see our astronaut. Thank you. Hi, this is Emily Calandrelli. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear. Welcome to the International Space Station.
Wow. This is very exciting. So I am here with a bunch of middle school and high school students here in San Francisco, California, and we have a few questions for you. We are with astronaut Bruce Boystal. So I'm going to kick this off with a couple questions, and then I'm going to hand it over to the students. My first quick question is, can you talk through a little bit about how STEM has enabled your career as an astronaut? Over.
Absolutely. I think the point about STEM in my career is that I wouldn't be here without STEM. I took some time after high school to determine what it was I wanted to do as a profession, and I attended community college for 3 years, and at that time I worked as a mechanic as well, so I was exploring different options in my life. And also at community college I studied both industrial design, which is sort of an artistic bent, and then also science. And in the end I decided that science was important to me, and that I was curious, and I had a lot of questions about the Earth and Earth processes, and then so I went ahead and pursued a degree in geosciences. And for me, that was the point at which I turned my attention to science.
And there we got Graham back with us. You froze
to
there
become
for a
a
while.
scientist
Graham,
astronaut.
was the
Wow.
question
And
so
that's why I'm
hard?
here today.
Yeah.
Very cool. Second question for you.
Exactly,
What is it
yes.
about the International
Let me
Space
just, but you,
Station that makes it
fortunately, you
an
finished
incredible learning
answering before you froze.
platform?
So,
Okay. that was a bit of luck.
so we've got one
It
question
really
here.
is
Are total
international,
lunar eclipses of any use
international
in
sort of
science?
professional laboratory in space.
Ah,
I mean, we have
well,
all
that
the,
is,
capabilities
that
that
is a
you find in
fascinating,
many advanced laboratories on
question.
Earth.
You know, we've been
Everything
studying
from
lunar eclipses,
agriculture to,
you know, for how long?
medicine to
Thousands of
biosciences.
years.
I mean, we cover
People
the
have
whole
been following
span
these things.
of
Is there any
observation.
useful
Really, it's just a great
science that we
platform
could
for all science,
we
not
can
only
still
for
get
observation,
from
but
lunar
studying the
eclipses?
effects of
That's
space on
a
humans,
great
but also
question. The answer to that is yes. In fact, lunar eclipses can help to tell us quite a bit about the moon. If we think about the surface of the moon, we have sand and we have rocks, and the surface of the moon generally spends about 2 weeks in sunshine and then about 2 weeks in darkness as the moon slowly goes through its phases, as it slowly goes over the course of a month from a new moon to a full moon and back again. On the lunar surface you have this very slow day where you have this very long daylight period and then this very long nighttime period. And the temperature difference between the daytime on the moon, where you've got the sun shining right on the moon and there's no atmosphere, the sun is going directly onto the lunar surface. The difference between those temperatures, which are hundreds of degrees, and the temperatures on the other side of the moon, on the dark side of the moon, where there is really nothing at all, there's no sunlight at all, and the temperatures fall to minus 100 degrees. Those temperature differences are very big. Now, normally this change in temperature happens over the course of a month. It plays out very slowly. But today we have seen the moon go from bright sunlight to darkness and back again as we see it now, just in the space of a few hours. And this temperature change happens much more quickly. And scientists can use telescopes to study the surface of the moon. We can use infrared tools to study the temperature of the lunar surface, and we can see how it changes as the moon goes very quickly from light to darkness and back again. And because different sized rocks and different kinds of material, because they cool down and heat up at different rates, this can give us quite information about the surface of the moon. And scientists can use the data from these thermal imagings to get quite a good understanding of different features on the moon and different aspects of the moon's surface. So yes, lunar eclipses can be very helpful to scientists and to planetary geologists in particular who spend their days studying the surface of the moon.
Yeah. And then we got another question. It was really long, so we tried to shorten it down. When we see the sun or moon rising, where is it exactly? Because we only see its image. We don't actually see the moon or the sun.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's an excellent question. If we go to timeanddate.com's tables for sunrise and sunset, you will see that at the bottom of the table where it has the time for sunrise and sunset on that particular day, there is a note that the times take account of refraction. We were talking earlier about how refraction kind of bends the image of the sun. So the times that we give on timeanddate.com, that is the time that we actually see the sun rising above the horizon. But the question, where actually is the sun? Well, in fact, the sun is still a few degrees below the horizon. All we're seeing is this refracted image. So the sun itself, this also applies to the moon as well, when the moon is rising or setting. So when we see it, the moon itself or the sun itself is still a couple of degrees below the horizon. And next time you look at the sunrise and sunset tool on timeanddate.com, you will see a note that explains that yes, these calculations do take account of this effect of refraction.
Okay. Well, I think that's the questions that we actually had time for. We're closing in on the end of the partial eclipse. So we're going to leave you with some beautiful images, and we will be back again to talk to you soon. Hello again from main operations, timeanddate.com. We are closing in to the end of the partial eclipse. We've got about 1 minute 20, 1 minute is just counting down into 1 minute left of the partial eclipse. But the eclipse is still running, isn't it, Graham, after we pass that point?
That's right. So really the end of the partial eclipse is the end of the main show today. The moon is still in the Earth's shadow. It's still in the light outer part, in the penumbra of the Earth's shadow. it will be there for another hour or so. The penumbral eclipse finishes at 23:28 UTC. But there is not that much to see because this is the fainter outer part of the Earth's shadow. It's very difficult to notice any difference on the surface of the moon. So really our main show is ending with the end of the partial eclipse.
Yeah, and we're watching, we're counting down. We've got 10 seconds left of that black shadow moving away on the side of the moon in Santorini, Greece.
Okay, and then just after the end of the partial eclipse, we might still see that slightly dark smudge on that side of the moon. This is maybe the one part of the penumbral eclipse that we still can see, because this is the darkest part of the Earth's outer shadow. But that will be lightening up very quickly, and the moon will be pretty much back to normal in a very short space of time.
We can see some beautiful detail in the moon here from Santorini. You can see some craters and
the moon is looking absolutely special. Is a wonderful sight, and you're right. Even now, without any partial eclipse, this is an absolutely beautiful picture, and as you say, showing us some terrific detail on the surface of the moon.
But we will be seeing some more lunar eclipses, right? There's one coming up in the next eclipse season, I should say.
Well, that's right. So we were talking about these eclipse seasons that come along about every 6 months. So if we jump forward 6 months from now, we come into the next eclipse season, and the highlight of the next eclipse season is another total lunar eclipse. This will be the Great American Total Lunar Eclipse.
You've adapted that name there, have you?
There we go. Well, the North American continent completely missed out on tonight's eclipse, but North Americans will get a prime time lunar eclipse on January the 20th. This will be Sunday evening, Sunday night. It really is a prime time eclipse for viewers and for observers in North America. A Sunday evening total lunar eclipse, which is going across the whole of the North American continent, all 50 states of the USA. That will be a great total lunar eclipse for North America. We should say that totality is going to be somewhat shorter than tonight. So it'll be 1 hour and 2 minutes. So it is considerably short. Great day, and it's a great time for observers in North America. So that will be.
I'll of course be streaming it for you guys not seeing it in North America.
And we'll be having it here on timeanddate.com as well. Exactly. So that is the highlight of the next eclipse season. If we jump forward another 6 months, the highlight of the eclipse season after that takes us to solar eclipses. We have a total solar eclipse on July the 2nd. next year. This is a total solar eclipse where totality will last up to around 2.5 minutes. And totality, the path of totality, the narrow strip where we can see the moon completely cover the sun, where daytime becomes darkness. That path of totality is going across the Pacific Ocean and crossing Chile and Argentina. So that is the highlight of the eclipse season after that.
And then we have something called the transit. What is that?
Right. Well, this is a little bonus for next year. From our position on the Earth, there are two planets that we can see going across the face of the sun. There are two planets that can pass directly between the Earth and the sun, and those are the two innermost planets. That's Mercury and Venus. So a transit is when we see just this very small black dot moving across the face of
You
the
might
sun.
not even see it if you were looking on a small screen. It's just looks like a little fly on the sun on the screen.
Right. Well, transits of Venus, there the black dot is a little bit bigger, and you can see it just using solar glasses, eclipse glasses. However, transits of Venus are very rare. The next one will not be until the year 2117.
We'll of course be streaming that one too, right?
But we'll be streaming that one too. Exactly. Transits of Mercury are much more common. They happen about every 7 years or so, on average. But Mercury is further away. It's very small, and to see this transit, you do need a telescope, and very importantly, you do need a telescope properly equipped with a proper solar filter. So if you don't have the right equipment, and if you don't know how to use it, and if you don't have the proper solar filter, you won't be able to see the Mercury transit yourself.
And
But again,
don't look straight at the sun through binoculars, telescope, that kind of thing, without a solar filter on it. We've got more information about that on our website as well at timeandday.com.
Right, there is an excellent page on how to view eclipses on, as you say, on timeanddate.com. Yes, anything when we're looking at the sun with transits, with eclipses. Yes, we cannot say this strongly enough, that